What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another episode of Maps Exposed. This is the series where I cover all the hotspots, lines of sight, secret spots, as well as all the most common spawn locations on every base map in Black Ops 4 multiplayer. In today's episode, we're going to be moving on to one of the throwback maps, and this is Summit. And first up, as always, let's have a look at the hotspots, and Summit is quite interesting. The hotspots, or I should say hotspot on Summit, is just the middle building area. There are so many different locations that are constantly rotating around that I would consider to be hotspots within this middle building. And most of the time, if you're looking for a fight, just go to the middle building, you'll find some action there. Now, to go in a bit more detail, some of the more common spots within this middle building would be up in any one of these top windows, most commonly this window here though. Also, anywhere in the second floor up in this room, it's very, very common that you'll get enemies that camp there or will just kind of hang out in that general area. Usually below that on the bottom floor, you don't see as many people in that particular area. It's mainly the top floor part. And then over towards the A domination flag, we have this choke point here, as well as that doorway that goes to the outside area. Both of these are really common choke points that enemies will be funneling through. Of course, with this map, if you have a really dominant team on one side, then oftentimes the hotspots will be pushed up more towards the spawn areas. But in the average match where you have somewhat balanced teams, the hotspot is definitely towards the middle of the map. So now that we have that covered, let's go through the map and go through all of the lines of sight as well as jump spots that I know on Summit. Keep in mind, with Summit, it's mainly actually going to be jump spots rather than lines of sight. The first thing I wanted to show you guys, and this is super practical, it might seem simple, but this is going to help in a lot of situations, especially in opening routes, is how to get up here most efficiently. I see far too many people going up here, they mantle, and that just takes far too long. It's much more effective if you come up like this, slide jump, and then from here, you can jump and mantle straight up. When you're doing it quickly, if you manage to practice it right, it does take a little bit of practice to get that down, but once you get that down, it is so much more efficient and so much more effective. And in an opening route, this is often the point where you actually start running into the enemies that are rushing up the stairs. And if you're doing the double mantle, they will beat you to this position, whereas if you do that, you will often be beating them to this position. Now from here, I also wanted to point out something that a lot of people don't know, and that is there are plenty of ways to get up to this balcony without having to go around and mantle up there or go all the way around and go on the stairs there, and I'll just show you a few of them. The first one is super easy. If you go in these barrels right here, you can easily mantle up there. It's great that that opens up some opportunities for you. Same thing over here. You can actually jump across from these barrels and then mantle up like that. Most importantly though, if you're coming from this spawn right here and you want to get up there, maybe you know people are camping up there, which is really common, and most of the time they're looking at the stairs. Instead of going up those stairs and most likely getting yourself killed, what you can do is actually mantle up on top of these barrels right here, and then from these barrels you can simply jump across, and there you go. You're up here. Really simple. You'll often have somebody sitting like right here, and you can just walk around and hit them in the back if you want there. Now, also in this area right here, this can work with some opening routes sometimes, especially in domination where you have enemies that'll stand on the C flag or out in the open like that. All you have to do if you have like a sniper rifle or a really good long-range gun is if you come to this area here, you can actually peek around this corner. Of course, you do have to be careful. You don't want to pull a clayster and fall off. But you can pick those people off through there sometimes if they happen to be peeking there. This isn't an area I would recommend camping in. I would just use that maybe in an opening route or just as a quick check spot before moving on. Now, another thing with these barrels that some people didn't know is you can jump up like this and you can lock people down as they come out of spawn over there or over in that direction right there. It's great to challenge those people over there instead of standing out in the open or trying to stand here, which is where they expect you to be. Next up, we have this tower here, and the OGs from Black Ops 1 will know exactly how to get on this tower, but there are actually a couple options within Black Ops 4, and the first one is to jump up on this control panel at the B domination flag, and then from here you can jump onto this catwalk, which this catwalk in itself can sometimes be pretty effective because a lot of people don't know that you can get up here, but also from here, of course, you can jump across, and there you go, you're now in this tower if you don't fall right off because I'm dumb and I just mantled right over. But let's just reset that real quick. Or I guess we can show you the second way to get up. All you have to do is jump on this and then jump up like that. To my knowledge, you couldn't do that in Black Ops 1. You had to jump from there. So in Black Ops 4, you can easily jump across there. And this will get you up into the tower right here. From this tower, you get a nice line of sight on the B domination flag. You get a line of sight to that window there, as well as anybody that comes around on this side over here and over there. Just, of course, keep in mind, once people find out that you're here, you're pretty much doomed because you are quite exposed and you don't have a whole lot of cover. You also have the option to go down to this area right here, which I wouldn't recommend this. It's a lot easier for people in the control room to shoot you from there, and therefore I would stay on the top area there if you are going to come up to the tower. Now, also in this middle room here, just something that enemies often don't expect is jumping through that window there. They will often expect you to jump up into this window because you've got these obvious little jump spots right here, so you can jump up like that and get in here. So they expect that, and oftentimes they're actually looking out of that window, so you don't want to try and jump through that window. But this window here is often neglected, so oftentimes what I'll do is I'll jump up on this area right here, and then simply jump across like this, pick those people off, pick these people off that are waiting in that window. Or you can also do it from this little spot right here. You can easily jump across. I completely failed. It's a lot easier than I make it look, I promise you. There we go. Easy to jump in there. Now, right in this area here, this is a super situation-dependent spot. If you have somebody head glitching those stairs, and maybe you're coming out of spawn here, and they get a few shots in you, but you know they're over there, you don't want to challenge them in the common spots, a great way to challenge them is to just simply mantle up right here, and there you go. Great line of sight on the people on those stairs if they're head glitching. They won't expect the tip of your head peeking up here and picking them off. Now, another thing I wanted to mention, if you're using a gun with FMJ especially, is this area right here. If you spray through this area right next to this pipe, that is actually going to be getting a line of sight, or not a line of sight, but your bullets will be hitting the people that are sitting on this piece of cover right here, which is very, very common once they've got you spawn trapped back there. They'll just sit right here, and they're going to win this gunfight every single time. They've got cover, they're pre-aiming, and if you come over like this, you're just dead. So oftentimes, just as a check, especially if I'm using an FMJ gun, I'll come over right here, and I'll just spray a little bit next to this pipe. If I get a hit marker, I keep spraying, and oftentimes you get a kill there. Now, a somewhat similar spot is over on this wall here. You can actually wallbang through this as well. A few common points to be aiming are going to be straight in this area right here, kind of right by this jacket. This is to catch the people that will happen to be coming through this doorway right here. You might be able to pick them off if you're using FMJ on an LMG. And also, somewhere in this general vicinity, if you spray through here, you may get a hit marker on the people that are sitting on this box right here. They'll often sit there and they'll just be waiting for people to come around the corner, or they'll be challenging people on top of the stairs. So every now and then, if I just happen to be in this area, maybe I've got the B flag locked down, I just want to see if someone's there. I'll just pop a few bullets. Once again, if I get a hit marker, keep spraying and you might get yourself a kill. Now, on this side of the map, of course, just in case you aren't aware, you can jump into the gondola over here. It's pretty easy to make that jump. It's not really all that practical in most modes. You usually don't have too much traffic coming through this area here, which is what this is really designed for. And over in this area, I mean, when it's swinging, you get a bit of a line of sight on the less common window over in that area. It's really just not a good place to be. Just for those of you guys that didn't know, it's kind of a fun fact. You can jump into the gondola. Now, getting all the way back to the A spawns here, this one is mainly for safeguard towards the end of a round when the safeguard robot's coming through this area and you're on defense. If you get killed and you want to get back in the fight as soon as possible and get a line of sight as soon as possible, you will most likely spawn either back in this corner here or right in the middle or over in that area there. But in either case, all you have to do is jump up on these barrels really quick like this. There you go. Perfect line of sight towards the robot area. They won't be looking this far back most of the time. And this can actually save you a round sometimes if you can manage to pick that kill off quick enough. But with that, that's going to wrap it up for the lines of sight and jump spots on Summit. Now let's move on to the most common spawn locations. Of course, keep in mind, these are the spawns you'll see most of the time in linear team-based game modes, so these don't necessarily apply to modes like Hardpoint or Free-for-All. When it comes to primary spawns, which are the spawns that you'll see like 99% of the time if there's no pressure put on the spawns, these are the spawn locations. It's actually very simple and straightforward on Summit, and these are also very sticky spawns, especially towards the C domination flag. Enemies will keep spawning at these spawn locations, even if you're really close to that spawn point, but just around the corner. And in some cases, they'll even spawn directly in your line of sight. It's actually kind of a problem spawn area, I would say, over towards the C flag. But when it comes to the primary spawns, there are no surprises whatsoever here. It's exactly where you'd expect them to be. The secondary spawns, on the other hand, these ones get a little bit weird, especially towards the A domination flag. You can spawn right inside the A domination building, as well as the other little building on the upper half of the map as you're looking at it right now. And also, it is possible for you to flip to the area right under the tower, but just keep in mind, that one there can be a little bit tricky sometimes. It's not a super common secondary spawn, but every now and then you'll see that happen. As for the other side of the map towards C domination, these secondary spawns are pretty much exactly where you'd expect them to be. So if you do happen to push in and get a line of sight and block off the primary spawns towards C, most of the time you're going to want to look to those secondary spawns towards the bottom side of the map. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for Maps Exposed on Summit. As always with this series, I'd like to know in the comment section below, what do you guys think of this map? Do you like that they brought this back from Black Ops 1, and then I think they had it remastered for Black Ops 2 as well? Do you like the fact that they brought it back? Or do you wish they would have just left it as it was? Personally, I love Summit. I've always loved Summit. I think it plays quite well in a lot of different game modes. However, I will say one game mode that I hate playing on Summit is Control. I feel like the one control area is just way too big. But that's just my opinion though. If you guys have missed any of the previous episodes of Maps Exposed, I have now covered all of the maps except for one. I have one more map to cover for the base maps in the game, and I'm still a little bit torn. I may or may not do DLC maps for this series. But of course, if you guys missed that, I will leave a link to the playlist down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.